Thank you all for coming. Coach Haynes is joined today by sophomore cornerback Demetrius Monday. Coach.
Again, disappointing. Loss against Bowling Green. I give Bowling Green a lot of credit. They did a very good job. Kind of stayed two steps ahead of us a little bit on both sides of the ball. We're not an offense right now that's putting on a bunch of points. So when you get down 21-0 and you got to go against running the football and doing those types of things, it's tough for us to come back and compete with. So, but my hat's off to them. They did a good job, good game plan. Just one of those ones that, we didn't play our best, and they're a good football team, and they kind of handed it to us. So move on. Much needed break for us. Got a lot of guys banged up, got a lot of guys bruised up. So it'll be good for us to get a little bit of a break so we can hopefully get back to 100% as much as possible.
I was going to ask you about the timing of the bye week and what you thought of that.
It is perfect, for us because, it's, you got guys like Nick Holly and Miles Washington who are out. But we got a lot of shoulders. We got a lot of ankles, just bruised up. So, my kind of stance on it is we're going to take some days off. We're going to run. We're going to lift. We're going to stretch. And then we'll get back at it at the end of the week a little bit. But much needed for us to just get, hopefully, those guys who are kind of got those bruises back to close to 100% as possible.
Coach, you talked about how you're disappointed the team didn't play its best, but obviously outside of a W, what were some of the things that you really hoped to have seen last weekend against Bowling Green?
We kind of made the decision to kind of get after them a little bit, and when we did, the quarterback did a really good job of keeping the play extended, and they got a couple passes that, we had covered early. That if we kept him in the pocket, but again, give credit to him. He did a good job of making some plays, and again, you go into it, and I wouldn't sit there and say that you're trying to run the football, but trying to control it, and we know that they couldn't have 80 plays and all this type of deal, and you're trying to control it, and you get down early, and you can't. It's hard to do that after that. You kind of got to open it up, try to get some points. So that was the difficult thing. For us to try to do that we wanted to do going into the game.
Coach, why don't you tell us what you thought of Matt Johnson? I mean, he's already over 3,000 yards, 29 touchdowns. That's pretty good for a full season. He's only through 8 games. What did you think of his play on Saturday?
I thought he did a great job. Again, extended plays and, found the open guy and things like that. And Coach, Babers did a good job of getting him into the right offense, so – but he's a competitor. He's a tough kid. He's did a really good job.
And Demetrius, from you being on the defense, what was one of the hardest things, in your mind, the hardest thing of defending that high-powered offense on Saturday?
Throughout the week, while we were preparing, we talked about everything that they do and how we needed to stop them. And one of the things was they're a team off of big plays. So when we worked on big plays, we was focusing on how to stop that. We was preparing for the deep ball and then the things like the hurry up and stuff like that. So I mean, it was just getting adjusted was probably the hardest thing to do that game. Just getting adjusted to what they do.
Coach, we talked about Johnson a lot last week, but what did you learn about Johnson that maybe you didn't know going into the game Saturday?
I wouldn't say that I didn't know. He's a tough kid. He's a competitor. He's a leader. Again, he's first year starting, but been in that system. And sometimes when you sit in the coach's chair for a year and sit in those meetings and just listen and don't have to go out there and perform, you learn a lot also too, and that's what he has done in his year off. Is really got a lot of mental reps and spent a lot of time with Coach Babers, just sit there and learn the offense, and is paying dividends for him right now.
Do you think he has the ability to play on Sunday?
Yeah, that's not for me to. I don't know. There's been guys that I've said that could play on Sunday that don't, and there's the guys who I say can't that will. So I think he's a tough kid. He does a great job for them. But, yeah, I don't know.
Demetrius, just looking the last 3 weeks, you've faced some receivers. I mean, how does this help you? Just, obviously you've done a lot of great things yourself this year. Just kind of how does it just help your development as a sophomore kind of moving on to your career?
I can say it's a big step, you know what I mean, coming from, this being my second year on the field. It's just, getting used to the game now and knowing what's going on, and my IQ has gotten up with the game with, knowing what's going to happen and watching film in different kind of ways. So it's just like kind of the game is kind of slowing down to me, and I'm kind of understanding it more and things of that aspect.
Sometimes, you got a lot of interceptions. Sometimes that can be a little deceiving with an overall play of a corner. I mean, how do you feel like overall you've done so far this year?
I mean, there's always room for improvement, you know what I mean? And I got a lot of things I still need to work on, and we're getting better every day with it. So we go in every day. Coach Haynes always tell us, have one thing to get better at today. And you sit down and break it down, and I just try to work on that one thing. But it's a lot, you know what I mean? I'm getting better, but there's still a lot of room for improvement.
What are some of the things that you're trying to work on right now?
Mainly, you know what I mean, got to work on not getting tired out there, you know what I mean, and got to work on my technique, keeping my technique, fundamentally sound on every play, every snap of the game, you know what I mean, and sometimes that get hard on the corner, so it's just that's one of the big things I need to work on, my fatigue and technique, you know what I mean, ball skills and, coming out of breaks and things of that nature.
Hawk, you're halfway through the MAC, and you just kind of assess, the first 4 games where you're at, what you've done well, what you've not done so well.
Again, against against the teams who spread you out and who are athletic, we've struggled, and that's one of the things that you sit there and you look at that we got to do a better job of defending those style of offenses, and that comes with what we're doing, how we're doing it, what we're asking our guys to do, what we're willing to give up, what we're not willing to give up. And again, at times when you're in games, I think we're able to do what we need to do. You look at us offensively, we're struggling, but our production is coming from 2 redshirt freshmen and 2 true freshmen. So it's going to take some time to develop those guys, in Bolus and Raquan James and, Dixon and P.J. Simmons. That's where a lot of our production is coming from. So it's just going to take some time to develop those guys. You got to find ways to, get them touches, to get them more touches, and get the ball in their hands. So, it's kind of tough a little bit. 2 of the games you played well, 2 of them you didn't. So it's kind of 50-50. When we can do what we want to do, we got a chance to win. When we get behind, it's tough to sit there and do just because we don't have the ability right now to put up a bunch of points. In that game, we needed some breaks. We needed some takeaways. We didn't get them. And when we've gotten those things, we've played well. So those are the things we got to continue. I showed them this morning. We met this morning on we've given up seven football fields of penalties right now, which is killing us, 700 yards in penalties. And, the holding and the pass interference, those are the ones who are subjective that you can sit there and, they can throw it every down or they can not throw it. It depends on, the week. But, some of the personal fouls and all those are things that are selfish penalties that we got to clean up.
You mentioned the penalties. That running into the kicker on the first drive of the game after they had missed the field goal, how do you think that affected the momentum of the game?
I don't think at all. It's early. It's a lot of football to play. And again, I said it after the game. No, you don't want it to happen. But again, if he doesn't do it later, then he doesn't block the kick. So just got to be we got to do a better job of coaching it. You got to do a better job of executing it. But I don't think it had any effect on play 56, or play 70. It is what it is.
Coach, we spend a lot of time talking about the Bowling Green offense, but their defense has allowed 10 points in 2 weeks. Just tell me a little bit about what you saw Saturday that makes them such an effective defense as of late.
Well, I think when they get up and they can get up on teams, they can sit there and pin their ears back. And, I've been on the other side of that to where you get up in the game and, you can be a lot more aggressive defensively. Your confidence goes out the roof and everything else. So when you blow it out the gate 21-0 real fast and you stop them a couple times, your confidence goes up. You start taking a little bit more chances, and you play a little bit better. So, but they are playing, better defense, and they played in the last couple of weeks, play better defense. So, but again, I think a lot of it is a team effort and a mentality that they have, that they score a bunch of points and get a couple stops. So let's take some chances and get some negative plays on first down, and we can pin our ears back and go.
Do you feel, it's kind of going back to what you're saying about the halfway thing, do you feel like you're kind of built in reverse to where the rest of this league is? It seems like everybody else is offense first, and like you're just saying, their defense gets a couple stops, and here we go, and you're kind of the opposite. Yeah,
right now, just because you're so young, as far as the playmaking ability on that side of the ball, you're just so young, and there are times that, when you're watching the game or you're watching the film, that you get a young kid that doesn't run through the route. He stops on the route and doesn't run. So all that stuff is just tough. It's year 3 for us, but it's year 1 for them. So that's what's so tough, that it's just going to take time for those guys. They're the right guys because we've seen them making plays. We just got to keep coaching them and keep teaching them and have some patience that it's not coming as fast as we want it, to come. Keep recruiting those type of guys so you can surround them, with some other guys. And now it's a little bit more difficult for guys to defend us, So, it's frustrating for all of us because you sit there and you watch football and you say, man, 35, 65. I mean, they're becoming basketball scores and you're not getting that. But it is where we are right now with just the youth that we have on that side of the ball.
You mentioned the youth. Let's talk about your young quarterback. 2 starts, played pretty well against UMass, got the win. Last week kind of struggled a bit, a lot less yardage, less completion percentage, albeit against probably a tougher opponent. Where would you assess where George is now as far as his development?
I mean, he's good. I mean, he's after, again, when you get down 21-0, and again, I go back to them pinning their ears back. You can't hand the ball off and do the things that we did the week before. Your numbers aren't going to be as good, So, but we sat there in that game, and there's a course in the game. Do you want to make a change? No, you don't want to make a change. You want him to sit there and learn from it, so you can coach off of it, and that's kind of what we did. But I think the team, I think the coaches, I think everyone has total confidence in him to get the job done. For sure, we just got to make sure that we don't let it get out of hand so we can do the things that we need to do to win the game.
You mentioned learning. Specifically, what are some of the things you think he can learn and improve upon?
There's a lot of times where you just got to release the ball a little bit faster. I think a young quarterback waits for a guy to get open completely before he lets it go. A veteran quarterback lets it go before he even gets out of his break. So those are little things that you just sit there and you look at that, again, it's with a young wideout not coming out of his break and slowing down on the crossing route. Those are things that will come that we just got to have some patience, with all of those guys that they will get better at.
Just real quick, you mentioned Nick Hawley. Has there been any, it seems like if there was a time he was going to come back, this might be it coming off of the bye week.
Yeah.
What's his status?
As of right now, that I don't know. I know he's running. I know he's running around. We'll kind of see where he's at, but I'll let you know later in the week kind of what our plans are for him moving forward.
But he's still planning on trying to come back this
year? You know what? I have not sat down and talked to him about it. I know he's sitting out there, like I said, and progressing and running and putting on shoulder pads and doing all those things, but I have not sat down with him and talked to him about what he wants to do because in every decision that we make, we always try to see what they want to do first and never want to sit there and give them advice, give them suggestions, but then, let them, and I have not had that conversation with him yet.
Demetrius, the way everything kind of unfolded last year at Buffalo, do you think there's maybe just a little something extra on the line when you guys face a little something extra to prove
I mean, we're gonna go in, and look at it as, a regular opponent we have to play in the MAC. We're gonna just go in and prepare like we usually do. I mean, it kind of be, fun because we didn't get to play them, but I mean, we're not looking at it any kind of differently than a regular MAC opponent.
We got extra underwear from last year, still available.
Socks.
Socks.
Coach, I know that you want us to come back to you and talk about Buffalo later on, but is there anything that you can say right now?
You know what? I have not watched them, and I'll be honest with you, I haven't watched the Bowling Green game yet. I've spent all day yesterday and all day this morning watching recruiting tape, and that's what I'll continue to do to make sure that, guys are calling me as we sit there and go. There's more guys getting on the board, and I just want to make sure that I watch, recruiting tape. And, the GAs right now are doing a lot of our self-evaluations, on where we are. So that's really kind of in the next until most of the guys are getting back coaches-wise Tuesday night, tomorrow night. Then we'll start game planning Wednesday, Thursday. So that's kind of when I'll start, looking at them. But, yesterday, today, and tomorrow morning, I'll spend a lot of time watching a bunch of recruiting tape.
All right.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.